Hello and welcome to Rolling Escapades Season 2, Episode 15, Part 1, the series in which 9 dudes get together, play Dungeons & Dragons, have fun and put it on the internet.
And there's actually 9 this time.
There are actually 9 of
We
us!
have 9 people!
Power of 9
Yay, maths.
It is taken... I think it's the first time in 5 weeks we've had everyone here.
Longer than that.
Is it longer than that? It might be longer than that.
I'm pretty sure it's been a couple of months.
No, it's not.
It's not that long.
It has.
Anyway,
Powers combined, we are unstoppable.
There's usually
Derailing
one person
campaigns.
missing each time.
Excuse me.
Yeah, when we're all here, it makes the combat
And proportionally that you weren't here because you were doing your exams.
You know, whatever. Cool. Our sponsor is Destai, fine makers of chainmail and macrame goodness. There will be a link in the description to click, search, buy, enjoy. Get things like dice bags, key rings, necklaces, other forms of accessories, custom orders and stuff. Go look at it. It's awesome. Also check out the artist Christopher Rose. He's done the awesome, pretty sexy character art for us and has some cool DM's Guild products such as Izzy's slightly used airships. Description for the links. Right. Last session. Having arrived at Doonatel and enjoyed to a certain extent the festivities celebrating Lordling Orlan's 5th birthday, the Errant Guard found themselves with no real aim. Still waiting for the Council of Jofrime to contact you and provide you with information about the islands that they've been investigating. You decided to kill some time whilst you basically hung around, waited for the celebration of the end of the war, and investigate some of your own things. Some of you travelled east with some scouts provided to you by Sillin, the Doonatel head guard, to investigate the Orc war camp that there had been reports of. When you got there, you discovered some disturbing information as the Orcs continue to show signs of intelligence beyond the norm of an Orc, plus signs that this warband made use of giant bats, potentially connecting them to the group that you previously slew. You followed the trail of the warband, confirming that the Orcs had made their base somewhere within the Myre, and were continuously making their way in and out past the various dangers that exist there. Dangers that are, even as the Orcs are passing through, claiming some of the Orc lives. You passed by, of interest, a weird pool of what looked like liquid but didn't really seem to exist. No sound was made for it, that had an Orc body in it, and when you were interacting with the Orc body, things just passed through it. You found some plants that had closed around what you assume are Orcs. I think there were Orc weaponry, occasionally Orc limbs sort of dotted around, and they were pulsing as if eating something. And then the final thing you encountered was a creature whose appearance defied logic. It was announced by a high-pitched, unpleasant wailing sound. Shade and Shamshir spotted it. Shade immediately lost control of his body and hit Throndrake, doing no damage, but the strike connected, and Shamshir stood there completely befuddled.
When you say lost control of his body, does he soil himself?
as I say, yeah, does he evacuate?
I honestly said he's lost control of his bladder. That's what I was expecting you to say.
Bowels. Oh my. Be more worried about what hit him then after.
The rest of you carried or pulled Shade and Shamshir out, and after the sound of the creature disappeared, they were broken from their befuddlement. You decided that continuing further into the Myre was not worth the risk, and turned back and headed back towards the town. Back at the town, Icarus read a book and investigated a potion from Shader provided him with, identifying that the core ingredient was a plant called Lunarin. Derek attempted to investigate to find more information about the Myre, but was unable to find anything beyond what he already knew.
Fucking double shamshu.
And was then shown more powerful magic by Orlan. Aegis attempted to find maps of the Myre, but was only able to find old maps depicting the region before it became the Myre.
Also poison investigations.
Also some poison investigation.
Some healing potions.
Yes, and you made some healing potions. Eventually, you guys all regrouped at the end of 9 days back at the Skylark residence, headed up to rest to be ready for the day of celebration that were to take place on the 16th of Mupasis. So,
What did I find out from the book?
that's right, yes, because I didn't do that last week. So, you were specifically looking for information on creatures connected to ley lines, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I would like you to make make an investigation check. I am going to say make it with advantage because of the particular contents of the book.
Better.
Much better.
Okay, so it was going to be a 3, but it's not. It's now at 16 plus.
I'll be honest, it rolled off of the 3 onto the 16.
Yeah. Investigation, right?
Yeah.
So that's 19.
19. Okay.
Unfucking.
So you do. It's very strange. You read the book, which doesn't take you that long of the 9 days. I think you spend roughly half the time on each. So you finish the book in about a day, and then you didn't learn anything there, but you go through, pick it because you read it quite quickly. You go through to read it again, and you discover that the contents have changed slightly.
Okay.
And then as you continue to read it, it's not so much the book gets bigger; it doesn't get bigger in your hands, but there are definitely more pages to it. And you find
It rewards patience.
Rewards for persistence by the sounds of it.
I told you it's
Or
possible.
knowledge.
it works on something else entirely, but I'm not going to tell you what.
How much of the soul it is consumed?
How much on
I
all
don't
the
think the
dice
book's
you could
ginger.
roll?
You discover that leyline creatures, there are some species of creatures that exist through and on ley lines. They are sort of they are sustained by ley lines. They are born of ley lines. There isn't much on like humanoids being ley line born creatures. It's not really. In fact, it doesn't actually mention that as a thing that exists. Because humanoids are born from other creatures.
What about in a symbiotic way?
There is talk about when a section of a ley line gets corrupted, there is possibility for people who are connected to the ley line in some way, whether by standing in an area where it flows quite densely, or in a time that a humanoid would be considered weakened, for example, birth, or a pretty severe illness, ickness. Something like that could the effects of a corrupted ley line can be felt across the length of a ley line of the ley line at the moment of corruption. People are already getting excited for the festivities. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what the leyline do.
So, and creatures that are connected and affected strongly by it, form a strong connection, will have very, very potent innate magical ability. but only as long as they can draw directly from the power that gave from the ley line that gave them that power.
So they have to be within the vicinity of wherever boosted them.
Yes, essentially, yeah. They have to be connected, and it's not like there are multiple powerful ley lines. They would need to be connected to this specific one that provided them with the power. As humans get more powerful and learn to control the power better, they start being able to have an element of being able to use it outside the ley line, but it's never far away. It's sort of, they can maybe travel sort of 5, maybe 10 miles away and put on the power, but it will still be lessened.
Right. Okay. I take it that's everything.
That is what you find, yes.
Then I would meet up and relay some of this apart from the group. So I guess at breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a period when basically everyone else isn't there, so it's really easy for
Right.
you two to talk to each other.
Then we just find one of the many, many rooms in your house, preferably not with the cursed child anywhere near. And
He's in his own mansion right now. Behind.
He wouldn't know.
With a half.
very interesting book.
Yes, it is. Isn't it?
It's I still am not sure if I managed to extract everything from it, but there's definitely much to see. I hand it back, and so it's very likely that the child will only have strength whilst within this town. Should he ever leave, it's likely he'd recede back to that of what you'd expect from around his age. Maybe slightly stronger, but not unexpected as to the extent we see at the moment.
Yes, yeah, I think it was obvious to me that his powers are from the ley line, and the Myre and the formation of the Myre and his birth coinciding so neatly was
Yes,
too strong an indicator.
it's almost a certainty at this point.
Someone designed it that way.
I'm still interested, just for the sake of researching it, to try and, at some point, perhaps when he's older, taking Orlan outside of this place and seeing what his powers are like when he's removed from here. But I think he is a child at the moment.
For the time being, I think it's important that he's raised properly and knows right from wrong, so that it never gets misused.
But did you find? I mean, you wanted something specific from the book. Did you find what you were looking for?
Yes and no.
Well, what is it you were looking for? I'm a very good researcher. I have, and because I've been with the Helix longer, I have access to books that you don't. So perhaps if you want to share with me what you're looking for, I can help.
It's part of what might bend the whim of the way ley line. The fact that it seems to have such a wild, rampant change on anything around it. I was wondering if there was anything slightly more controlled, if there was something guiding it in certain places. It's difficult to know, seeing as here it's made a whole area of pink mist and what it's done to the child, and I'm sure that there are far more that we aren't even aware of. And the fact that it's this one specific area, despite all ley lines being connected, it just doesn't lay easy on me that it could only happen here and not throughout the rest of the land.
Insight check.
Roll whichever one.
Yeah, roll whatever you think is most appropriate of deception, persuasion, and a charisma save.
I mean, I'm being honest, so...
Sure you are.
Your choice of persuasion or charisma save. Just pick one of them to use.
Just checking what I have. Okay, 17.
23.
Being honest.
Cool.
point to note, Garrick. When you obviously you don't know about the fact that it changed for Icarus. When you read the book, it was just a book. Nothing changed about it.
Yeah, I'm not a wild magicka. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I don't know about you, but books don't tend to rewrite themselves as I'm reading them. Usually.
Special book. You didn't tell me that, or I'd give it to all and see what the fuck happened. That was hilarious.
Oh
Anyway.
god. Just Leo's back.
You get sucked into the book.
Oh.
Is it gonna-
It just starts unfolding.
Is this going to
Do
be? You've
that.
got a mini campaign of going through a
Exactly, I did it
storybook
for him.
It would turn into a pop-up book.
Do it anyway.
or holograms,
Good, yeah.
or spirit, or things are going to start coming out and attacking people.
Cool. So, it is now.
Time for
Are
the
they-
daily weather
I
report.
was going to say, I look outside the window, what's the weather?
Drizzle.
Fire and brimstone.
Is this the 16th?
Green with
It
a
is the
chance of
16th.
swords.
It is Fire Day, the 16th of Wipassis. It is raining, drizzling outside. When you awaken, the mood in Doonatel is
Orc-like.
similar, similar but different to
Get that
the mood
check.
that it was in when you first arrived. There's definitely an air. There's a buzz to the air of the coming celebrations, but it is sort of marred by an element of sadness, as it is remembering a pretty negative event. Heading down for breakfast, you don't find the normal layout of coffee, fresh bread, bacon, ale, and things like that. Instead, you have water and bean soup. So it is a meal that is recognisable to Parr mostly, and to a lesser extent Eldoran, as the food that soldiers would eat on march. It keeps well, it's easy to store, and it sustains.
Eldoran, have we offended your family in some way? This repast is not typical to what we've been experiencing so far.
Oh, I don't think so. You know, I've almost missed this meal. Almost.
I think my bean soup is looking back at me. There's a smiley face in it.
I would sit down and eat it.
Yeah, I obviously sat there with the spoon. It's an acquired taste, I'm told.
I've had worse.
Exactly.
Yes, my point is we've had a lot better, and at this very table. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
No, this is an old soldier's ration dish. It's supposed to be poignant.
Oh.
It'll all come clear.
Yeah. As you are talking, Lorette and Orlan walk in, sit down at the table and begin eating bean soup as well. You don't see Lord Brufton and Lady Holly. You do notice that Orlan doesn't seem to be... He seems a lot more serious to what he has been. He's a lot more focused. He's
Is
not...
he an orc?
You walk up to his side ship. Orc check. It's hammer time.
Cannon's time.
Orlan seems to have a grasp of what the day is and how serious it is. He does not seem to be in his normal jokey prankster mood.
The fact that the child is eating what amounts to the soldier's ration without complaining
Yeah.
at the age of 5 really does show that he's...
Yep, that
Yeah,
surprised me.
He's
as
not
well.
the age of 5 though, is he?
Physically,
He's
yes.
just
mentally
forgetting a couple of
can't.
zeros off the end of it.
And him and his mother are sort of talking through the schedule of the day, as it were. But what you hear, it's not too different from how things are celebrated in most settlements across the continent. It's all sort of recognised in a similar way. There will be slight variations. But in essence, The day starts with a remembrance of sorts to both honour the dead and remind the living of the horrors of war. In the Skylark town in Doonatel, that's part of the reason why people are fed a soldier's breakfast. It will be that this will be the meal that everyone in every house is eating in Doonatel. There is the remembrance will take place at a memorial built on another island within the Turquoise Lagoon. It is a place that people can go and visit at will. For this particular, there is a particular sermon that you guys are invited to join to attend with other noble families.
So everyone's eating beans, then we've got to crowd together on a raft to go to an island. Sweet.
Just be thankful you weren't marching with 10,000 other people.
Is it literally just one bowl, or is there like?
It's literally you get a bowl. Yeah.
I like down it, but then I'm a bit like, well, you passed yours to me. But I'm not subtle.
That's fine.
Don't worry, no one
You
expects
know what?
you to be.
I can see soldiers doing that on the day of a battle. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't eat this.
Yeah.
Someone would
It's
definitely.
like, I will eat that for you.
Yeah, some people will be unable to eat, and some people will just be non-stop, consistent hungry. Part of the sermon includes a reading of the names of people who died during the war, whose deaths have been confirmed. Because there is every possibility they don't want to be reading out names of people who they don't know if they're dead or not, in case they're not dead.
People going to be reading out your name.
I don't think so.
Cool.
I shouldn't think so.
And
Would they be able to confirm
that's going to
anything that happened in
Very
there?
awkward if someone does.
You're not confirmed dead.
It's missing.
Could be. I mean, what?
I'm not 100% sure I'm confirmed alive either, but you know.
I'm pretty sure you were alive.
Divine sense. Divine sense.
Did anyone check if he has a pulse?
Derek, walk check.
You treat Derek like a dog now. It's like, Derek, go.
You've been visited by the weather.
That's just him.
After the sermon and the reading of names, you'll all head back into the town and out to
On the far barge.
and out to the outer villages where some of the schools have put together a sort of reenactment of parts of the war.
So are you all going to attack during the reading, or are you going to attack during the school play?
School plagues, and we can use the kids as soldiers.
And then it's back to
Use your wooden swords and shields for
When
real.
all your soldiers
Go with
died if you got over kids.
One of the kids just explodes into a cloud of pink.
One of them picks a flower.
Yeah.
and
If
then
that happens, we blame Orlan.
No.
How do you know? How do you know?
We blame Jordan.
Yes.
and then after the performance of the schools, you head back to the Doonatel, the town square, for more of a celebration. There will be food, there will be drinks, there will be various games to play.
Possibly.
You don't have to tag along to any of the events, and you can celebrate in your own way if you wish. Is anyone wanting to do that, or is everyone going to follow?
I'm going to follow at least for the first part. I'm not sure about later in the day.
I'm gonna see how I feel. I might dip out for the reenactment.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can go to whichever bit you want to go to.
I'll be there for the memorial service at the very least.
Perfect. Cool. So, after you guys have eaten, which is a very short affair, for once, it is not the 45 minutes you've had. It doesn't take you very long to eat a very small bowl of bean soup. That
What
is.
do we wait for him to finish his tea?
I assume so.
I mean,
Only one guy.
yeah.
Did everyone else finish their soup?
Yes. Sorry.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I suppose he wasn't
Um,
eating, yeah.
it wasn't the soup. It didn't taste great. It didn't taste bad. It was just
Bean
bland.
soup.
Yeah, it's just bean soup. There's nothing particularly interesting about it. But it will get you through the day.
Yeah, well.
I enjoy some of the tasty lagoon water, thank you.
Okay, so after you've eaten, Lorette stands up, sort of looks around you all with a sad smile, and says, "So, you are ready to go, no?
I believe so.
Perfect. We will lead the way to the dogs if you wish to follow me." She reaches down and grasps Orlan's hand, and they head out of the residence.
As of now, I'm in more formal clothing than usual.
Whatever.
Just
Yeah, that's cool.
Repolished the armour this morning before breakfast.
Yeah, that's fine. I assumed you did things you would do to make yourself look a bit more.
I'll go and get my black hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went like that one, bit.
I didn't do anything.
You get the crumbs from yesterday's beer out.
I cast Mage Hand, just sit there like picking bits off him.
You really are a cat.
A monkey, surely.
Lorette leads you
He eats the crumbs 'cause he
across the
doesn't have
city.
breakfast.
And across to the walls at the southwestern side of the town. There, you can see beneath the walls is a staircase cut into the ground that goes under the walls. And that is where Lorette starts to head down. Should you guys follow?
Yeah.
Cool.
We're gonna die, guys. Oh shit.
Cool.
The door closes
Flooding.
behind us.
There's no door, it's just an open staircase.
Alright, turns into
The
some
As you
hidden door
guys,
closes behind us.
reach the bottom of the stairs.
Fear of the druid.
You all notice three things. First, you are standing in a tunnel lit by flames that aren't flickering. Second, the walls of the tunnel look to be made of glass or something similar to that. You can see through them, and you are standing at the bottom of the turquoise lagoon. Third, the air is bristling with energy, and you are able to see sort of small golden motes of light drifting and floating around through the tunnel. Looking around, you notice that some of the small yellow motes are occasionally sticking to people. In front of you, Orlan is covered in them from head to toe. His body is completely obscured.
Of the 8 of us, does Icarus get more than anyone else?
Icarus does indeed get more than anyone else.
Magic pollen on a bee.
Derek gets his notebook out and starts writing.
but
magic pollen or magic bees.
Icarus has the most, but he's not much more than Derek and Aegis. You guys are also covered. After that, it is Eldoran and Shamshir have a decent number, but not overly. Then it's Shade and Throndrake, and then Parr doesn't actually have any sticking to him.
what about his magic items?
All of your magic items are completely covered.
Oh, good.
Can I sense anything from them since
So
they're
my
so close to
footwear
me?
is.
The
Sure
air
it
is
is.
bristling with energy.
Just yeah, okay.
So-
just-
Yeah, the
I'm
very,
going
like the moment you step down, it's like all the hairs in your arms stood up. The air is charged with
Have
energy.
I felt anything like this before, to my memory?
To an extent, when you interact with powerful magic users, you get a sense of buzz, like a sort of static around them. It's like that, but way more intense. It's not unpleasant, but it's just
It's
it's
just a
there.
Ton of magic in the air.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
As you're trying to brush it off, it's like trying to brush off water whilst under the water.
Is it going to come off eventually?
It won't follow you.
Good.
As you make your way through the tunnel, you can see that these little motes are passing through the walls. They are just going through the walls. Occasionally they come up from the floor. They don't seem to be going through the ceiling of the tunnel, but yeah, they are definitely floating in and out through the walls around you.
Are they interactable with? Are they tangible?
No, not really. There's like when you go to touch one, there is like a sharper buzz, but then all that happens is it gets stuck to your finger. Like you just gain another mote, and it just floats out through your cheek. You are also able to see when you look out into the lake, across the bottom of the lake, again about the same height as the tunnel, are more of these motes just sort of drifting lazily through and around.
Can we see any fish or wildlife in the lake?
There is fish. Yeah.
And does it stick to any?
No, it does not stick to any of the fish. The fish don't seem to be coming anywhere near this particular section.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the need to tap on the glass, see if the electric glass was magic or something.
It is rock.
Oh.
When you tap it, it is rock. Surprisingly warm rock, but rock. But the tunnel is surprisingly warm, but being something that's currently underneath a lake, there is no dampness. It does not smell or feel like you're underneath a lake.
Okay.
At the other end, the tunnel begins to slowly slope upwards, spiraling up in a clockwise direction, and phases from this transparent rock into the same solid rock that it was at the other side when you came down. As you start to clear the top of the tunnel, the motes that were sticking to you and your weapons and your items and all that just sort of disconnect and drift off and become part of just the flow of energy motes beneath you. And the sort of the charge that's in the air disappears. It is no longer staticky and charged and full of energy.
Okay.
As you continue to make your way up, Orlan does turn around, look at you, and says, "That's the source of magic that I use. I like coming down here. It's fun." Okay. As you follow the spiraling tunnel up, you eventually emerge from a cave, stepping into the open air and the morning sun. Initially, you'll need to sort of shield your eyes because the light is incredibly intense. Unusually so, considering that the tunnel wasn't dark and the sun isn't very bright. But you are your eyes adapt quite quickly, and you realise very rapidly what it is, why it was intensified, as you are currently standing in a forest of what looks to be glass trees. And as you are standing where you are standing, the light has hit all of the trees and just reflected and magnified. But even as you're looking at it, the light diminishes like rapidly. As you follow,
Are they glass? Are they rocks? Are they trees?
they are glass.
They are glass.
They are glass going up and touching one. And you also notice, especially as you've gone up to check, each tree has maybe 10 to 20 or so names that have been etched, yeah, not carved is not the right word to use for this. Etched or engraved, something like that, into the trees. Just where you are, you can see about 50 or so trees, and you get the sense that you are not able to see all the trees that are on this island. So there's a lot of names, a lot of trees.
I remove my hat in respect.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a helmet.
Cast Shatter.
Oh.
I don't
You are getting attacked by everyone.
The magic just consumes.
Fortunately, I think I'm the only person who's actually got shatter in the group.
That's lucky.
Oh, I
I'd
would
be
never
impressed if
shatter
you
the
shatter
glass
them.
trees of Memorial as any character ever.
Not, at least not while people are watching.
It's a good thing I've got hold person. Get fucked.
I definitely wouldn't encourage this sort of behaviour either.
Definitely get fucked.
You continue to follow Lorette and Orlan, and you reach a clearing where you are able to sit on a series of wooden benches arranged in a circle around this clearing. Various rings pulling out. You guys take a seat. The ones near the centre have already been filled up. It's just sort of halfway in. As you sit down, there were people who were moving in behind you, and the seats steadily fill. Once they're filled, a figure walks through them. You recognise the priestess of Eldath, who you saw for Orlan's birthday using the control weather spell. She makes her way into the centre of the clearing, and sort of just looks around at everyone, and she says, "Before I begin, I wish to have a moment of silence for the fallen." And she bows her head. A moment passes. And she looks up and she begins to talk. She covers a broad range of things, but it's she talks about how life is precious. War is a negative thing. It brings nothing but death, destruction, and pain. The war that started because the elves claimed that when the dwarfs and the halflings turned up, the continent didn't have the resources to sustain everyone, and it would result in the destruction of the continent. And then, because of the war, the destruction of the continent happened, and the Myre was created as an effect of the war. It was proven that the elves had, or the higher ups of the elves had, lied and manipulated in order to begin the war for whatever reason. It's that sort of thing. She talks about peace and death and life and wars being bad and no one should fight and this, that, and the other. And it goes on for about 15 minutes. Then she stops for a moment. Once again looks around and says, "Now I shall read the names so we do not forget them." And she just begins to read out a list of names. She isn't reading them from anywhere. She appears to just be doing this from memory.
Sure.
She is a bit.
Are there any names that anyone recognises? That's what I was about to ask.
She says some of these names. These are some of the names that she says. And after she says each name, she pauses for a moment before saying the next one. Hufric Plateheart. Avild Brightcoat. Geordie Nordland. Darren Skylark. Siggy Strum. Paris Illijor. Sven Hjorth. Fanchon Skylark. Delmar Skylark. Linus Ibsen. Hansi Skylark.
Handsy, as in orchard.
Yenras Riri. Ild Petula. Tommy Berger. Elaine Elderberry. Reed Goodbarrel. Astrid Goblinbane.
I think at that one you will hear a sniff from Parr.
That's fair. Arias Ironshield. Satael Rivida. She continues to read out names.
Parr's name wasn't one of them then.
Parr's name wasn't one of them.
Just a
Of note,
multitude of other useful ones in there.
yeah. Also the Skylark names and the names of members of the noble families on the Council of Jofrine. Good Barrels, Iron Shields, and the Riveters.
Odd question, but would we be sitting next to each other at all?
Are you sitting next to each other? You
Can we
do
be?
If you want to be, you're sitting next to each other.
Yeah, okay,
Done.
so after that little list, I'm going to quickly just show you the inside of my shield where most of those names he's just read out are just etched into the inside of my shield.
Geordie Nudlin, Siggy Strom, Sven Hjorth, Linus Ibsen, Ild Petula, and Astrid Goblinbane are carved into the back of your shield.
Before you show that, I'm sort of just stoically staring, like, straight
Yes.
forwards,
You,
you know.
You've got the 1,000-yard.
Yeah. I see that, and I can't actually do the look because you're sitting there, but I just sort of look up to you like, oh. And place my hand on your shoulder.
She continues to read out names. It does go on for a very long time. There are a lot of names to read. And the sun sort of reaches its highest point and starts to go past before she is done. By the end of it, there are people who are just sitting in stoic silence. There are people who are attempting to stifle sobs and the bodies, racking from silent sobs, and then there are people who are just openly crying. When she stops, she looks around her. You can see she isn't full on crying, but there are tears in the corner of her eyes. She takes a breath and says, "We have remembered, and thus their sacrifice is not worthless. Now we celebrate the living and the peace. Come, we will head to the outer villages to see the performance that the children have prepared for us, and then begins an afternoon of feasting, drinking, and celebrating." And she weaves her way back out and heads towards the cave. What are you guys doing?
Following.
You're following.
For the
I
performance.
want to wait till most of everyone has sort of filed out and is on their way, and I just want to take a quick 5 minutes just to walk around the trees and read the names
Cool.
and see if I can find the relevant trees for the relevant names.
That's fair.
There's a lot of trees and names I know, but I might find them.
Yeah.
I stand up and I've got my hand on your shoulder. Eye contact. I see yours going to stay, and we move off with.
Oh, okay, you can come in. Cool.
No. I'm going to go with my family. But I see you're planning on staying.
I'll meet you a bit later. That's all right.
I am going to go off and meditate for a little while
Okay.
because I went to several dozen decimated villages when I was slightly younger.
Yeah. Are you heading back to somewhere in town or finding somewhere in the glass forest?
Somewhere in the glass forest.
Cool. Anyone else doing anything in the forest? The rest of you following?
I'm going to go watch the play by the kids.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow.
Play. Cool. So, okay. Parr, as you're walking around, make a Make a perception check for me, just as you're looking around.
Hey.
24.
24. Okay.
Did you just max
Yeah,
that
I
out?
just yeah.
Well,
Oh.
I love it when the dice
Yeah.
work for the story.
Yeah.
You will find the tree. There is one tree that has the names of your comrades. This has more than most trees have, because it has 23 names. Or 22 names, not 23. 23 is one too many.
You could make it 23.
Yeah, no.
Including those closest to you and the members of the other parts of your mercenary band.
Fun. I'm going to sit at that tree for a bit.
That makes sense. Awesome.
Probably talk to it.
That's fair. You do notice there are other people sort of wandering around, finding a specific tree, sitting down by it. They are, talking. Some people are talking. Some people are just sitting there in silence. There are people who are doing their own form of remembering. You're just looking for a quiet spot.
Yeah, just to sit and
Yeah, it's easy enough to do.
push down memories, basically.
Yeah. When you step out the clearing and start making your way, the sound does mute very quickly. Whether because the trees are good at absorbing sound or there's some sort of magic in the air just to enable it to be a better place for meditation and remembrance, you are easily able to find somewhere to sit and rest and just think. Cool. Interesting point to note, none of you feel like achy or tired or anything from sitting on a wooden bench. You feel surprisingly comfortable.
Magic takes young.
Yeah, I mean, I said it was a high magic world. I like magic.
Odd question.
Yes.
I didn't take any little trinkets like their dog tags or anything.
You wouldn't have had the time to.
No, okay.
Right. You can go and get some if you want.
No!
That bush at me real quick, yeah.
Yes, let me just search every not a chaos spawn in the Myre for some fucking dog tags with specific names. That's a great idea.
You might have got
The
the
one that
cleric's
looks like
ones.
pinkish.
I mean, if you're lucky, they'll hand it straight to you.
Yeah, you're brilliant. Oh, thank you. I'm going to go and put this on your tombstone.
And he goes, but I'm not dead.
I think this creature would be more terrifying if it started talking.
Yes, they absolutely would.
Yes, because then they show signs of sentience.
Yeah, that would be more scary.
Shit.
That'd be fucking terrifying.
Okay.
And then I'd be certain they're in charge. Then-
So, the rest of you head back through the tunnel where the same thing happens. Little motes stick to you and your items. Though there are less sticking to you than there were on the way there. And it's sort of, as you're walking back through, you can almost feel a sort of pressure in front of you. It's not very intense. But it's sort of, it's like you were in a stream walking
Against
upstream.
the flow.
Yeah. So yeah, you're walking up the ley line now, upstream as it were. So less things stick to you. Most of it is just blowing past. You get up to into Doonatel, and it's here where the groups of people start separating. There is a couple of performances going on at each of the outer villages. So in order to keep, just so you don't have a whole bunch of people trying to watch one very small play, where the people at the back will never be able to see what's going on. They have like 2 or 3 going on at each of the outer villages. You guys have a choice of which one you'd like to go to. Currently the closest one is the northern one. There's definitely more people heading that way from where you're breaking up. Then the western one is the next closest.
West.
Sorry, not the northern one, the southern one. Because it's the southwest. I said, not the northwest.
Well, there's different performances going on at different sites.
It's the
Are
same.
you with us?
It's the same concept. It's how the kids have done the thing. Yeah, they're all reenactments, all done by the various school children.
I'm going to be following Eldrand's lead. So.
I turn to Orlan. So, which town do we go to this year, son?
He points at the eastern side.
Very good.
There are more people going to which one? North, east, south.
More people are going south from where
Because
you
we're currently
are,
in the south of the city.
but you are at the closest. Yeah, there are people sort of heading off towards the other directions.
How wide was the lake, by the way, in total? I wasn't here for that bit, I'm not sure.
Yes. To be fair, I don't think you guys actually saw how wide it was.
Wide enough that you'd need a sizable ferry.
Yeah, I mean, it took half an hour to get to the island of Doonatel on a ferry. So
So probably a mile or two.
yeah,
Probably something like
it's a decent length, decent width, whatever.
Both.
Yeah,
Big
it's
lake.
a big lake.
Big
Yeah.
water, big water.
Bigly.
Cool. So you guys head over towards the eastern village, where the ferry system is
Closest to the pink.
is exactly the same as the southern village. There's nothing different. There's just a bit of a queue to wait to get on. You all eventually are put onto a ferry and sent across. Is anyone drinking any of the water?
Yes.
Cool.
Not I.
Not today.
Cool.
Fish fuck.
So add your 10. I think it's 10 temporary hit
Yeah,
points.
it's 10.
Cool.
Did you two find your trees?
I don't go anywhere.
I'm asking.
He's still
not
there,
here.
I think.
Is he still there at the tree?
Oh, yeah.
He
So
stayed in
we've
the
all
tree.
sailed off, and he's just there with his tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we split the party.
I did
just
not.
for the
I
orc
did
attack.
not
Hooray.
rejoin you guys.
Yes.
you didn't.
I didn't go
look
to
for
the
a
tree.
Yeah. So Parr and Aegis are not with you, but you did see them sort of just head off to somewhere within the glass forest.
I hate memorials, graves, names on plates. Doesn't remind you of who really lived. It's just a name on a plate.
No, but the name reminds me of the person.
It will. 2 generations from now, it's just a name on a plate.
Yeah, but it's for us, not for them.
When I die, I don't want my name on a plate. I want what I died for, or how I died to be remembered. Not my name on a plate.
Do you want us to write it on your mask?
No, this is like a very thin and brittle plate. It's probably better off as a frisbee, to be honest. I wonder if
I'll
it's
make
against
a note of it.
regulations. It's against regulations for me to draw anything on this thing. With like a little smiley face.
Even after your death?
Sure, why not? I'll be dead in the ground.
It's against regulations for you, but I think for us it doesn't really matter so much.
After I've died, you can draw whatever you like onto my plate face.
Well,
Just
the best part is he's going to
Come
die,
on.
and we're going to
Yeah.
revivify him afterwards on his mask.
Technicalities!
I'm always orc checking.
You wake up to be orc checked.
anyway, I suppose we can look forward to some amateur dramatics.
Yeah, yes. It's not as bad as you make it sound.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good.
We never really had these things when I was a kid.
Not like this.
Not at all.
You must have stories and myths from where you come from, no?
We do, but the kids in schools got to reenact those.
Fair.
Cool. So, you get out of the ferry at the eastern village, and Orlan starts sort of leading you through various things, and over to
As
one
if he's just
side.
walking in front, he's not like puppeteering us round.
No, yeah, no, he's out in front. Yeah.
Go
He just picked you all up and you're all just floating over everyone.
Either that or he's riding on his dad's shoulders and then just going.
Oh, watch out for the old lady.
Profiteering. Oh, it's meant to be a gateway or something.
Hell.
Um,
Yeah, I'm bored of the journey. Dimension door, dimension door, dimension door, dimension door. There we go.
The lake has burped.
The world burped.
A lot of bullfrogs around here.
The volcano.
It's a funny
erupted.
name
The
for 'em. We
volcanoes.
call them chaswas.
Unleash the Kraken's gas.
so he leads you to
It's crying tide.
a part of the eastern village. You do notice that it is, as you pass, you are seeing the other areas that the schools have set up for their play, as it were. You do notice yours, where you're going, definitely seems to be busier than the other ones, which is then made apparent as to why when Orlan says, "Oh, I'll see you afterwards," and starts making his way to be in the play.
Yep. Should have asked that first. Should have done that.
He's just starting school.
Great parenting there.
I was going to ask if he performed in it. That's why I was saying, "Are you with us?" And I was like, "Oh no, I guess that's not happening if you're asking questions."
I shouldn't let you talk. He's a bad dad. He's a bad dad. I am a bad dad. This is like life
He's
accurate.
never there.
Now
so,
I'm not
you know.
going to ask him the questions that I had.
What do you mean?
How do you parent?
Exactly.
No, not like that.
I'll find you a book.
Nice.
I'll find you a book. But as you guys are there,
101.
there are spaces that are sort of cleared for you closer to the front, so you can actually see what's going on. It is people are like, "Oh, we need to move." we shall
Oh,
move out
like a
the way.
Skylark with his friends.
Yeah.
Don't mess with them.
Okay, we'll just move to the back. It's fine. We'll see it next year.
Cast a spell.
Okay.
I'm going invisible.
Sure.
Okay. You are now invisible.
Okay.
Someone bumps into you.
I'm
Someone
going
trips over
looking
you.
for orcs.
You're gonna go looking for orcs. Go ahead and make a stealth check for me.
I was going to say make an orc
Yeah,
check.
same. I was like, what's he gonna do? Tickle everyone's testicles?
That might break
Is an
invisibility.
orc check what? A sleight of hand?
27.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so Derek turns invisible and disappears.
Or investigation check.
Like those of you there just notice that Derek just straight up vanishes. He's you. No.
Using dissonant wisdom to say what?
I just look down.
Cool. So are you heading out east of the village to keep an eye out towards the Myre?
No, the crowd.
Oh, you're looking at
Looking
the
for
crowd.
people in disguise, as orcs in
Right.
disguise as humans.
Cool.
Infiltrators.
Saboteurs.
Go ahead and make an investigation check with advantage.
Woo! Oh.
Dog shit.
Why did you?
Bloody hell.
It was
One's
good.
double of the other.
And then it was dog shit.
Investigation 11.
11. As far as you can tell, there are no orcs in this crowd.
That's too tall. I can't see their faces.
You can't reach.
Yeah.
I'm going to be stood on the outside of
That's
a
my
huge crowd.
passive.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you see space clear and just go straight to the edge. That's fair. Which means one happy person is like, notice this, and goes, "Oh," and just goes back to where they were. Like, yes. I'm at the front. Yes.
I look over.
He's like,
And then go back to whatever it was I was doing. And that's it. I don't interact with him at all on that. It's just like, oh, it's going to be funny.
He
you
doesn't
do-
associate with the commoners.
No, it's just, he's obviously gone, I've got the suit, and I'm just going to like politely smile at him, so I know he's going to shit my little bit. But it's just funny.
yeah, that guy then will spend the duration sort of half watching that and half looking at you and just being like, oh my god.
And I
Brain cannot compute.
I'm just watching.
Yeah, you're just watching. Yeah. You all take a seat. What do you do afterwards, Derek? I suppose that you can spend most of the time. Actually, it's a big crowd. You can spend the time.
Big
just
crowd,
looking
yeah.
around. That's cool. No worries.
That's me.
Okay.
No, that's one of
By
them.
the way,
Okay.
for my meditation, I'm only going to spend about an hour
Okay. Where are you heading after you spend an hour?
into the town to get drunk.
That's easy enough to do.
Very good.
Yeah.
We got a drunk wizard later. So sorry.
Let's go into one of the towns on the central island. Everyone else is left.
Go.
That's fine.
Oh.
When you head back into town, and there are people who are already like eating and drinking, playing games and whatnot. There are people who did not want to go to the performances; they just wanted to get drunk for whatever reason. So
You're
you're
one of them now.
it's not
You
difficult.
escape the peer pressure of having to follow Eldrand around.
Okay, better.
So yeah, you find a
Just
group
free
to
will.
start drinking with.
I was
No,
gonna say,
it's
if
a
I see him
5-year-old,
leave, I'll
cool.
go with him.
We'll say sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys go find you find a group and you begin to get absolutely wankered. Which you are drinking some very, very powerful stuff. They had some good stuff out for Orlan's birthday.
I know. I drank a bottle of that as well.
Yes, that was good stuff.
This is strong stuff.
This is strong stuff.
Yes, that was 5-year-old birthday stuff.
Yeah.
This is getting shit.
For like
faced
5
on
years after the
Veterans Day.
war, shit.
This
This is the war spirits that have been left to stew for 5 years.
Yeah, sort of thing. Yeah, this isn't a Lordling birthday party where people need to have a level of etiquette still. This is just get fucking wasted and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Come on.
This is forget the events of 5 years ago.
I guess you two have a drinking contest and you get fucked.
Yeah. My con isn't terrible.
But it's
He's a
not.
dwarf.
It's not terrible.
Is it 18?
Poison.
Huh?
Is it 18?
16.
There you go. I win.
He's,
Just.
he's also resistant to poison.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But he could roll a lot of ones. Or
Yes,
dashes.
but it
Either would work.
Yes, but it's also a higher DC for par, lower DC
Yeah.
for par.
Yeah, but it's not going to be sham cheers, is
So you two are.
It's like, yeah,
won't
drink contest.
take
I'm
you
going
long
to be drinking quite consistently. And possibly a drinking contest later.
well on your way to inebriation.
Yeah. The people you're drinking with, there's some people who are just there to get drunk. There are some people there who are drinking because they lost people. Store will be one of the people you're drinking with.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does not want to go to the reenactment. He lived through it.
He will have left town at like 6 this morning. Just be like, no, I'm not going to see any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So the rest of you,
Roll initiative.
not yet.
It's turned into goblins.
Oh, that's a party right there.
All the Goblin Orlan. Oh god.
Orlan the Goblin King.
An awful
Yes.
lot of civilians.
You are watching the play. It does go through. For those of you who have read the history books, it's relatively accurate as best you can tell. It covers from the period when humans first landed on the continent, their interaction with the elves, and then the arrival of the dwarves and the halflings. There's obviously some twisting because they are kids who are doing it. It's the the idea has been come up with the teachers, but it's the kids who are reenacting it. So there's an element of sort of childish glee to some of the scenes.
And there's not a lot of fucking.
No. There is a grand total of no fucking. And then the after the halflings, and there's the meeting between the elves and the humans to say about the continent being unsustainable. They start going through some of the some of the big battles. There was the time when the humans and the elves first attacked the landing point of the dwarves and pushed them back out to sea temporarily. but it wasn't long before the the dwarves came back.
Foreshadowing! I found one!
So
Yeah.
Goblin's about to come into orcish attack.
Before the dwarves came back with more men, the halflings fared
Lots of
pretty
halflings.
well from what is shown. Whenever an attack was led onto a halfling settlement, they always got there when it had been abandoned. For the for the most part, the halflings were just lucky.
Yes, weird that.
Yeah,
En masse.
as their race is.
That's why.
Two.
And then it heads to the Battle of the Red River Fort, the last battle.
Who's Orlan playing?
Orlan is doing special effects
Oh, right.
the whole way through this.
This is going to be a really good reenactment.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So he's not like the human king, or he's not like the elf king, or he's just
Oh god.
He's
behind the
backstage.
scenes
If he's doing
doing-
special effects, he has to summon the Myre.
Oh no.
Is this things like colour spray for blood or illusions and stuff?
It's mostly illusions. There's a lot of prestidigitation.
I hope
Yeah.
it's pressed.
I was half expecting if he was there, just flashback just because of.
Summon the Myre, gate spell. Oh shit.
Oh fuck!
Cloud kill.
Going this way, bye.
Yeah. He's doing a. He is like.
Okay, thanks.
It's not that he's hidden because lots of people are there to watch him do what he does, but he's not on stage. He's slightly off the stage, watching things from the front. But yes, he is. He is doing the various special effects, lights, sounds.
At the soundboard, as modern standards would say.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yes, there's the Red River Fort and the fight for it. They have the. It's obviously not a very big battle line because it's not for many kids, but they have the dwarven battle line that charges at the ramparts. They have the walls falling, the dwarves breaching through, and then as the kids continue to die on stage, there's a moment where as one of them starts to like scream and another one starts screaming, and then there's this very like pink haze sort of just starts to fill the stage.
Perception check.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to
I want to check it's not real.
Yeah, make an investigation check.
Investigation, cool. Which is so 19.
19.
Yes, 19.
Yeah, that's an illusion.
Cool.
Definitely an illusion.
Good.
Then the kids are turning into giant mutant ball turtles.
Yeah.
It's still an illusion, still fine.
Still good.
And yeah, the you watch this sort of pink haze sort of fill the stage, and then when it clears, all the kids that are on stage are gone, and there's this sort of weird swampy texture sort of thing.
Out of interest, what does the stage? So in the play, is there like a reason for why the thing fills up with mist, or does it just happen midway through the battle?
It just happens. Yeah, it just happens.
Alright.
Because for the most part, people don't know why.
But is there? I'm assuming from the context of the day, from what I've heard so far, I'm assuming that if there is, they might try and blame it on the elves. Is that something that they do, or are they genuinely just like? Because everyone's been quite anti-elf around here in terms of it's the
Well,
elves.
yeah. It is not blamed on the elves. No.
Okay. It's just a thing that happened.
Yeah, although interesting thing, whereas for like most of the other things there were elves sort of represented, because it's mostly human children, but there are some other of the races mixed in. For that final battle, there was only one elf inside the fortress, as it were. And they do show the elf dying. But yes, interesting thing. The other ones had multiple. This one there was only the one elf.
When he did the kind of illusion of the Myre, was it just swampland, or did it have like creatures in it?
It is not populated with creatures.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, not populated with creatures, mostly because the kids have not been taught
That's what I wanted to check.
what is in the Myre.
Because I'd
They've
be
just-
quite concerned if he put one in there and
Because that doesn't
how
know
you
about
know
it,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
No, there are no creatures in the Myre.
So
Actually,
they can let me feel when they're in their teens or something.
yeah. Briefly going back to the elf, it does show that the elf at some point is sort of dancing with a sword blitzing around her. And occasionally using spells. But again, everything's an illusion. And then, yeah, with the Myre there, illusion gets cleared and all of the kids come stand on stage and bow.
You'd be like, woo,
People-
yeah! Just appropriate sort of soccer mum level of, that was the best play ever, you did good kids.
Best play I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Only play I've
just
ever
to make them
seen.
appreciate that they're like, hey, we did good, guys. Yeah, look
Yeah.
at that one guy there, really enjoyed the play.
The kids are happy. Orlan eventually gets himself on stage. He waits a surprisingly long time before he gets on stage. He does sort of wait a good 2-3 minutes before he gets on to bow with the other kids. He gives them their time to enjoy the spotlight. The moment he's on the stage, they're sort of forgotten.
How, quite noble of him without really wanting to put a wordplay on that.
Yeah. And then the kids all separate. There's a bit of a speech from some of the teachers whilst the kids are getting out of costume and whatnot. Some of the people around you sort of head to help their kids, go find their kids. Orlan just jumps off the stage and runs straight towards you.
Just pick him up.
Yep. Then he is like, "Did you see what I did?"
I did. It was very good.
It's very fun.
I was worried for a minute because some of those, what do you call them, Orlan?
Effects.
Illusions, spells.
That's what it is. They were so very real. So very real.
Well, I know I can see the pink when I think about it. So
That's not scary at all.
Jesus.
Yeah. Made me think of more pleasant things.
it's just pink and sparkly.
Oh, definitely have killed him at
I
some
suppose
point.
it is.
Definitely have killed him at some point.
Yeah. Or just moving more in this place.
Yeah, that works too.
Hopefully.
I have no idea what to do now.
I want cake.
No, it's beans and water for the rest of the day.
No, I think we can find some cake. Well, anyone else going back to town?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not near you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
The crowd does start to
Oh, yeah.
dissipate
Just
at that
those-
point.
How long does it take to play?
It's only kids. It's like 45 minutes. It's not very long.
Okay.
That's
You are still
45 drinks.
invisible.
Yeah, you are still invisible. There are no orcs.
That's 45 drinks then.
I don't drink that quickly. He might.
you should do. We do seem to be missing someone though.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
We're not missing anyone.
I rejoin as the crowd thins and
Definitely not missing anyone.
So, if possible,
Yep.
I will at some point excuse myself.
Yep.
Probably find a darkened alley and a big pint of water and try and sober myself up a little bit because I want to go find was it Eldeth? You said her name was the priestess woman.
The priestess of Eldath.
That okay, yeah.
Yep.
She's named after a god.
Hadn't given you a name.
Okay, I'd like to try and find her somehow.
Go to the temple.
Well, yes, that'd be my first port of call.
Yeah.
He's gonna dunk his head in the lagoon to sober up, and then
Yeah.
That would do.
wet
What's
faced
that doing,
and
lad?
slurring.
Yeah.
Wet faced and slurring goes to the temple. Yo, this is the spell lady with the names.
The water, that water may really soak you up instantly.
Should do.
I don't think I ever gave you a name for her. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
In theory, you know it. But he's not there.
I believe you did.
Ariadne.
Yeah.
Huh? Ariadne.
That
Cool.
sounds familiar.
Josh Ross, I have that.
I have it in here somewhere, I'm sure.
I definitely wrote that down somewhere, but I couldn't find it when I went looking. So, was that
Yeah.
Ariadne?
Ariadne.
Ariadne.
I have it as A-R-I-A-D-A-Y.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I got the Greek word.
I can't spell, so I just literally spell.
Yeah, I thought it'd be NE on the end rather than Ariadne. Yes.
I'm trying to write Rush.
I'll go looking for that later. I've probably written it down in my notes. I just
Somewhere,
couldn't find
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I knew you'd give me a name.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so you'll head to the Temple of Eldath, which would have been pointed out when you guys came through town. It's one of the bigger buildings. Sort of. It's very strange. So make a quick religion check for me.
6.
Okay.
You end up back in the pub.
Sham shit it.
I did.
You don't know the name Eldath. It's not the name of a god that means anything to you.
Nope.
Outside of,
It's a
Eldath.
god.
Yeah, outside of Eldath worshipping it. Cool. So you head there. It's not difficult to find Ariadne. She's praying by a waterfall that seems to be of the same water that is in the turquoise lagoon. Which, as you're all making your way through, you do see lots of symbolism of waterfalls. That is the religious symbol of Eldath. She is just quietly meditating, but you make your way in and she'll look up. Yes. Parr?
Yes. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance. I just came over here. I simply wanted to say thank you for earlier. You remember every single one of those names.
It is my duty.
I'm very grateful that someone does and respects their, duties and responsibilities to the fullest extent.
I am a follower of Eldath, the goddess of peace. It is my duty to spread peace. And when a war has ended and lives have been lost, the easiest way I find to continue peace is to remind people of what they lost because of the war. And to hope that they carry that forward to their children and their children and so on and so forth. I realise that war is not something that can always be avoided. There will always be something that needs to fight. But as and when me and my followers, my fellow clergy men and women will push for peace once more. And we will continue to remember and pass the information forwards.
Very happy to hear you say that. It obviously it struck a bit of a chord with me. And I will, grab the shield from my back and show her the things.
Which is like,
I didn't know you had them remembered on your in your forest there. So that was a pleasant, but at the same time a very unpleasant surprise.
well, we do have the names of all of. Hang on, bear with. Just double check. Name. Pertulus Pegasi. Until, well, recently one name was removed.
I think I can take a guess who that was. I'm sorry, you can't complete your collection yet.
The last
That's
one is
very
so valuable.
Hopefully, we won't need to.
You know, I hope that too.
Or at least not until you die peacefully.
I mean, I'm only 140, so...
You don't look it.
But the forest
Why,
is worth
thank you.
nothing without a complete set.
His branches are there just like
I'm
tapping
worthless! I've been taking out my box! Fuck off!
You were
Conditional
taking out your
GTFO.
realm.
Yes!
Not worth anything.
Why is this war death Pokemon? What the fuck?
Because why not?
She wants to be the very best.
I've been vandalised.
No
Don't.
one ever was.
So yes, as I said, thank you for that, because that really did mean a lot to me.
You're very welcome, Parr.
Why, thank you.
Should you want to visit, the monument will always be open for you to visit.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've taken up your time. I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
And I'll somewhat awkwardly turn and leave.
Yeah. Cool. She turns back and begins to once again meditate.
She burps at water.
That's
She
meditating.
has been
Get
drinking-
behind!
No,
He's
that's
been
Parr.
drinking a lot of
Yeah!
You're like, oh.
Oh dear.
So many fucking beans today.
Beans and beer. It's a good combination.
Cool. So the rest of you are all heading back to Town Square.
Yeah.
For the most part. You will easily find Aegis and Parr because store is loud as fuck.
I know those dulcet tones.
Do I have any contacts here?
I tend to be invisible again.
You don't know
Yeah.
because it would be a safe assumption that there are people here that Raynor and Eldath talk to,
Yeah, there must be.
but
Don't know.
Damn,
not access level.
well, they are the people who talk to them.
Yeah, you're not their handler.
Mm-hmm.
The concept being, should a lackey get caught, they can't reveal anything. That they don't. You can't tell someone something you don't know. So yes, you do not know. You can assume there are shadows here, but you don't know who the shadows are.
Oh, you thought you were James Bond, but you're just the intern.
I've not been with the agency long enough yet.
Cool. Yes. So you guys all regroup, assuming you wish to regroup. If anyone wants to go off and do their own thing.
Anyone going off?
No, I've done my thing.
As have I. And I'm
What?
now doing my second thing.
I've been dicking around here for 9 days. There's nothing much to do.
Yeah. Would you all like to return back to the residence? We can get some food and maybe a few drinks.
I mean, food sounds nice.
I think you might want to avoid the drinks.
No, don't be stupid.
Come on.
I've just got the head start on you.
Oh, we will try. I'll get you around the arm.
Okay.
Ha ha ha.
I keep drinking my
Well, like
bottle as
doing
I
it
follow.
Celebration of the square again. We're going back to the.
I'm losing.
Yeah, you may be like trying to direct me. I'm weaving and you're coming with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you're heading back to the Skylark residence and having your own mini party, basically, rather than joining in with the others. Cool, that's fine. So you guys make there and begin your drinking, and we will call a break for the time being. And we shall be back with you for part 2 momentarily. Do remember to go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and our iTunes and Podbean for the podcast called The Funcast. Bye.
Patreon.
Patreon.